Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. Sorry for the delay, but I'm here watching the press conference that Donald Trump and Mamdani is having, and I must say I usually don't get caught surprised on how these politicians work. But let me tell you one thing that I got. I'm still taping it right now. The one thing that I'm getting out of this is Mamdani is at that press conference from a position of power, and Donald Trump is trying to hold on to his coattails. Donald Trump is a hell of a politician, and he knows whose coattails to hang on to. And he's grabbing onto Mamdani like no other. And he's shocking MAGA. Because guess what he has done? Donald Trump has secured that the people who normally don't vote, but Mamdani brought out, with the affection he's showing for Mamdani, and I mean, it is astounding. With that affection he's showing for that, with the pathetic feelings that many of Democrats who normally don't vote had for this guy. It is let me just say this, okay? It turns out that yes, the power in that room is Mamdani. But let me tell you, the smart in that room, the political savvy in that room are both. Of course, they could not get Mamdani to flinch on anything negative that he said about Donald Trump. And he even had Donald Trump saying, it's okay if he calls me a fascist. It's okay if he calls me this. I get it. It's fine. I don't think most Americans that watch that news conference are seeing what Trump is doing. Trump is in the doldrums right now. Mamdani is on the ascent. Mamdani voters don't necessarily look like your traditional Democratic voters. The traditional Democratic voters voted for guys like Cuomo, etc. He is watching a movement on. You know what is the best question that they asked? They said, Donald Trump, you're a billionaire. Would you feel safe? Would you feel fine living in New York? And without batting an eye, Donald Trump says, yes, this guy's going to do things. What else did Donald Trump say? He also says, oh, I agree with him more than I thought I would. Yeah, right. You don't have any soul. We know you don't have any ideological purity. What happened here, folks, is as they see it, Donald Trump, they look at Donald Trump and he says, oh my God, or rather they look at Mamdani and says, oh my God, it turns out that, my God, my God, my God, it's working. Um, Look, I am so shocked with how that meeting went. Look, I am shocked. And guys, you know, there's not much that shocked me, but I'm shocked. Anyway, welcome aboard. Let's get started. Welcome aboard. Meow. El Senor Patrick Magna was the first in the house, second by AVQ. Oh, you're away today, AVQ. Well, see you mañana, AVQ. Thanks for stopping by and dropping a note. Eric, welcome aboard. Welcome aboard as well. Paul Fleming from Powder Springs, Georgia. Welcome aboard. The Angry Corner Roar. You change your handle. I won't say who the handle is for because you may have changed your handle because you don't want folks to know who you are. So I'll let you tell me if it's okay to tell who you are with your new handle. Harry Denson from Missouri City, Texas. Welcome aboard, my friend, as well as Udi Deemer from Deer Park. Mary Wood from Long Beach, California. We also have in the house Gene Daigle from Alvin, Texas. Gene, I remembered it before you said it, Gene. I remembered it before you said it. We also have in the house Patrick Laval, my brother from look, how you doing, Patrick? Remember, guys, Patrick is the the producer of the con and the New Deal. I always get it wrong, but he'll correct me and tell me. We also have in the house, I think I got those. Lee the Bearcat, Austin, Texas. Welcome aboard, Lee the Bearcat. And of course, back at our Substack, we got Karen, Angie Decadence, love that name, Kat, Mikey's, James Shodan, Lane Comfort, Leslie Harris, David Richmond, Bobby K, Asterian, Stacy Meredith. We also have, of course, where is this being broadcast? We are broadcast all over. Actually, the morning show is one that's mostly on FM, and I think New Mexico, Colorado. I think I have to get you the list of stations. Okay, I migrated from YouTube. Udi thought I give you traffic on both. All right, I like that. I like that. I like that. I like that. All right, folks. So here's the deal. Before I get with any of my videos, I'd like to know if any of you have watched the uh, presser between Mandani and Trump. If any of you have seen the presser with Mandani and Trump, give me a call now. Call me and tell me your thoughts. I'm going to put that phone number in. It is 281 823 7747. Let me give you what is the other thing. They said, does it bother you that he's a socialist, democratic socialist? Trump says, we just trying to get to the same place from a different part. I'm like, oh my God. Trump is, look, Trump is shocking the hell out of me with this one. Okay. As you can see, I'm still masticando, aún lo estoy masticando en la mente. I am still processing it in my mind. What I do know is Trump is a smart politician. You know, he's a smart politician. He gave the billionaires everything that they wanted. And in the process of giving the billionaires everything that they wanted, of course, he had to screw the MAGA. Of course, he had to screw the middle class. And now we have Mandami, who is talking about doing projects to bring up uh, affordability, etc. He figures, okay, let me tag on to Mandami now. As I tag onto him, it'll kind of revive me because Mandami is talking to my people. Mandami is talking to everybody. Ha, ha, ha. Okay, well, good. All right, so give me a call, guys. Before I get started with any videos, etc., give me a call if you saw any of uh, the presser and tell me your thought. I'm going to wait 1 minute. And if you don't show up, then I'll have to go to the videos. But you know, as I say in the morning as well, the most important part of the show will always, whether in the chat, whether by voice, will always be you. So that number 281-823-7747. Come on, folks. Let's get busy. 281-823-7747. Won't you give me a call? Let's see what happens here. Asturian says, somebody needs to address us regular folk. Mandami, doing a good job. Actually did a great job. Who else we've got here? I read that one already. So folks, give me a call. 713, or I'm sorry, 281-823-7747. Okay, 30 more seconds to wait before I go ahead and do my switch to my first video. All right. The first video. Not even. Let me tell you what I call this one. Para ver. Edit the shot. No, rename the shot. I call this not even. Come on, Egberto, comiénzalo. Not even Treasury Secretary Bessent can hide Trump's economic failure. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and play that now. And if you decide to give a call, we'll talk after the video. This one is going to be about 8 minutes long. In effect, what it's all about is this. Donald Trump is out there telling how great the economy is. Even in his recent presser with Mandami, he said, oh, the economy is good. The economy is good. Of course, it's false. It's completely false. Well, we have to make sure not to allow the president to say those words and leave it unattended. We always have to push back when he lies. And that's exactly what this video is going to do with the pushback from several, actually from both a Republican and a Democrat and the host. So let's go ahead and get busy and play that.
Elections last week made it clear that voters care about affordability in this country, and some would call it an affordability crisis. But the administration, they're not hearing it. I want you to watch what Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said on our air this morning.
Economy under President Trump's been very resilient, and growth has exceeded expectations almost every quarter. We inherited an affordability crisis. We have slowed the price increases down, and they are going to continue to slow down. There are many aspects of affordability that have gotten better under President Trump. They're going to continue to get better. I do not believe that tariffs are a tax on consumers.
He doesn't believe it? Well, he's wrong, because they are. Let's level set here. What do we have right now? 3% inflation. Polls clearly showing Americans are unhappy with this economy. And tariffs? We still don't know the full impact of how bad they're going to hit us. But what we have seen so far, not good. The manufacturing renaissance promised is not happening, and the labor market only getting worse. As of August, the unemployment rate for 20 to 24-year-olds is 9.2%. Aside from COVID, it has not been this high since December of 2015. And the only message coming from corporate America, more job cuts are coming, courtesy of AI. So let's bring in my dear friend, Ron Insana, CNBC contributor and author of The Message of the Markets on Substack, and veteran Washington correspondent John Harwood. He's a distinguished fellow at Duke University and a columnist for Zateo, also on Substack. All right, Ron.
Yes, ma'am.
The president is trying to convince Americans that the economy is better than they think it is. This is giving me President Biden deja vu.
Yep.
When the economy had an extraordinary post-COVID recovery, better than any other country in the developed world. However, people did not want to hear it from him, and I get it, because they were struggling. Yeah, is that not happening again here?
It is happening again. I mean, listen, GDP is growing faster than anticipated because of the infrastructure investments in artificial intelligence, and the top 20% of all wage earners are spending the bulk of their money to prop up the economy. Everybody else is struggling. Inflation, as you mentioned, 3% above a year ago. Food, 2.7% above a year ago. President said gas is $2 a gallon. It's $3.08 nationally across the country. Electricity bills are up more than 6%. So they can say it all they want. The data are the data. Now, we haven't gotten any official government data.
But here's the thing.
Months.
Even if we don't get official government data,
we know.
You and I know how much gas costs.
Yeah.
People know how much their grocery costs. They know what their electric bills. So, as important as the government data is on these things, voters don't need the president to tell them. John, the president, it's not like he doesn't care about economic issues. Tomorrow night, he's hosting a private dinner with financial leaders at the White House. He cares about economic issues. But publicly, he said, I don't want to hear about affordability. I'm done talking about it. From a political perspective, this seems unwise. What's going on here?
Certainly unwise, but this is a president who has to feel good about the job that he's doing and assert that he's doing a great job, blame everything that's bad in the economy on Joe Biden. And that's why he says the affordability issue is a con job. The issue, as you and Ron have laid out, is that objectively, the economy is not in terrible shape. Unemployment's relatively low. Inflation's higher than it had been, 5 years ago, but it's not all that high. But we have seen that the economy is getting worse since Trump took office. And so they had this weird messaging thing where they have been saying all year, we inherited a disaster from President Biden. It's been getting worse. And they somehow have to make the argument that it's actually the golden age is on the verge of happening. It's really kind of incoherent.
You know, it's really difficult, Ron. John's study is so beautiful. I have no interest in looking across the table at you. I really just want to stay.
It's not the first time you've told me that.
Have a drink. It's just lovely there. But back to business. So circle this square for me, my friend, or wherever that silly
Square the circle.
Square it. Yeah, do that. Scott Bessent says that tariffs help the consumers. If that were true, why would the president be floating this idea of sending the American people $2,000 checks? And why are we regularly granting exemptions to American companies that desperately need this because the tariffs are killing their bottom line? Because
we've learned from history that tariffs are, in fact, not good for consumers, not good for business, not good for trade. We know all these things empirically. It's been studied for decade and decade after decade. And we know that just prior to the Trump presidency, the average tariff in the United States was 2.5%. It's now, according to the Yale Budget Lab, 17.9%, the highest since the mid-1930s. So it's not doing anybody any good. And if you have to refund $2,000 or spend $600 billion of the government's money, twice the amount they've raised in tariffs, to make people feel good about them, there's, as they say now these days, the math ain't mathin'.
I hate that.
I know. I do too.
You knew I hated it. Okay, John. Today the president said that the Supreme Court was given the wrong numbers as it relates to tariffs, and reversing his tariffs would cost our country $3 trillion in refunds and lost investments. Where did this number come from? What is it really?
Some numbers. He's said at various points, we've got $17 trillion of investment coming into the country. Howard Lutnick does the same thing. So does Scott Bessent. This is just talk that they have to try to gild the lily and make the situation look better than it actually is. Last week, the president said in all caps on social media, tariffs mean life or death for this country. It's an absurd statement. It would be much better for him and for the United States if the Supreme Court struck down his tariff authority and he didn't try to reimpose them. But he's so committed to this policy, even if they do strike it down, he's likely to try to use other authority to reimpose tariffs. So this is a president who, in many ways, is disconnected from reality, economic reality, social reality in the country. And that's what we've got for another 3 years.
I disagree with you. I think tariffs are life or death for some American companies whose bottom lines are getting decimated by this. But let's talk about the labor market, because U.S. companies shed more than 11,000 jobs a week just in 1 week in late October. That's according to ADP. Wage growth is also slowing. How much does this concern you? And again, John said it earlier, underlying, we do have a somewhat stable economy. But when we get these new clues, when we get numbers, they're concerning.
We have pockets of strength, Steph. The labor market itself, as you just pointed out, is weakening. And if you look back, the president keeps saying that this is the best economy in the history of the country, even better than his first term. We're averaging 80,000 jobs before we know any new data per month this year. Last year, we averaged 180,000 jobs created per month. The year before that, 250,000 jobs per month. So labor force is getting smaller, both in terms of demand and supply of labor, and it is weakening at the same time. So it is extremely concerning. And the Federal Reserve has taken note, and they may, and this is a coin toss at the moment, have to cut interest rates again in December to help prop up the labor market.
So yes, not even Treasury Secretary Bessent can put some lipstick on the pig. The economy is doing terrible. What the Trump administration is doing with tariffs, what they're doing with a lot of other policies, not reinstituting the subsidies for healthcare, not allowing better management in healthcare, etc. All of that creating trying to turn traditional Medicare into Medicare Advantage Light. All of that is hurting the economy, and it is showing up in that people are concerned. And when people get concerned, they don't spend as much. And when they don't spend as much, what do you think happens? It slows the economy down even further. So, yes, Donald Trump has created a failed economy. I repeat, Donald Trump has created a failed economy. Patrick Lavelle says, my thought is that Trump has no original ideas and just follows what other corrupt folks tell him to do. I've been looking at politicians for decades. And of course, I agree with you, my dear brother. You're absolutely right about that. Anyway, folks, before we move on, anybody wants to call in? 281-823-7747. It's Friday. It's the last Friday before Turkey Day. Notice I call it Turkey Day. Before Turkey Day, Agolf Twitler says the military knows what Article 92 of the UCMJ says. They know it's their duty to refuse illegal orders, and those 6 Democrats repeated unlawful orders over 20 times in that ad. No mistake. They did the right thing. They did the right thing. Come on in, Bobby. How you doing?
Hi. I was going to see if I could be put in the queue.
Yes, you are. You're on. You're live.
Oh, okay. I have a question about tariffs, and I was wondering if I could get some clarification.
Sure, please do.
Okay, so what the way I think it works is, let's say China has a product that they import for $100.
Mhm.
The government says, look, we're going to charge you a $20 tariff on that.
Right.
So China would pay our government $20, and they're happy because, oh, they got money. But China would now say, okay, well, we're going to import this to you for $120. So now the companies, pay them $20 more, and they get their money right back. And so, isn't it kind of like just a little circle that takes money from the consumer and puts it into the hands of the government?
Actually,
Is that right?
but let me explain it a little bit different because I want to make sure we get the directionality correct. We import a lot of products from China, right? So
Right.
let's go ahead and talk T-shirts from China. Walmart sells a lot of T-shirts from China. Okay, so Walmart may go buy a pallet of T-shirts that average 50 cents per T-shirt from China. So when and let's say it's 1,000 T-shirts, what's the cost of that pallet? $5,000. I'm sorry, 50 cents, $1,500. Okay, each T-shirt,
Right.
50 cents. It costs $500 for that. That is what the person who was going to buy that from China. That's how much they paid to the company in China. So I used to order products from China. In other words, they used to make some boards for me. So when I buy from there, what happens is I send them a wire transfer for that $500. That gets to the port here in Long Beach, California. All right. When it gets to the port in Long Beach, California, Donald Trump has placed 100% tariff on China. I'm assuming it's 100% still. So let's say 100%. So what did I pay for those things to China? I paid $500, right? Now
Right.
when I go to the dock to get that pallet and put it on a truck to ship it to Walmart, I have to give not China, I give the United States government another $500. Okay, which is 100%
Oh,
tariff.
wow.
Okay, that's how it works. Now, when it goes to the store, right? I'm used to paying 50 cents for that product. Now I'm paying $1 for that product. The 500 that I gave to China and the 500 that I gave to the United States government, right? So when that occurs
Right.
now, what do I do? I used to sell that shirt for $5. Technically speaking, that shirt should now cost $5.50, right? because that is the extra tariff, extra money that it costs me. But that's not how
Right.
capitalism works. They don't want you to know what their price point is. If they only increase that product by 50 cents, you're going to know, damn it, Walmart was buying that product for 50 cents. Now that it's 100% tariff, it only went up by 5.50. So what Walmart is going to do is Walmart is going to say, "Hey, I'll charge you. I'm that product went up to 6.50," and then they'll say, then they'll for PR purposes they'll tell the rest of the country, "We had to raise the prices because of the tariff, but we ate some of the costs," and that way
I
they
noticed.
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was gonna say the oil industry did the same thing during COVID. Remember, they were,
Yes,
hiking up the prices, and then when it came out, they made like record profits during those quarters. I was like, wow. So you
that
really
that
didn't need to do that. You just used it as an opportunity to do that.
ex- I mean, you just nailed it, Bobby. Let me tell you something. Okay,
And
this is
and one more
important.
thing.
Yeah, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say one more thing. Um, that kind of irks me is like so much money. You see these $1 billion lottery things, and yet you only want to give that money to charter schools. And I don't see a lot of charter schools around here. I mean, I know they exist, but I mean, that should go to public schools. Every kid in
All
the
right.
whole state could have laptops. They could
Let
pay
me
the
tell you.
teachers way better.
All right. Let me tell you. That
But
is. I am glad. I wish you were. I wish you were a MAGA guy. I sure wish you were a MAGA guy. Let me tell you why I'm saying this. The following. The places where a lot of people who support voucher, not who support vouchers, a lot of the people who support vouchers are Republicans, right wingers, etc. Right, and when they support those vouchers, in effect, it's the MAGA folks who voted for them are then making it possible for vouchers to exist. But the thing about it, Bobby, is these private schools are generally not in rural areas, which is where the mass amount of Republican voters are in the rural areas. You notice if you take a look at the map, it looks almost all red. And it looks all red not because of
right,
people,
right,
but
right,
because of land. Now, there aren't charter schools in those areas. The charter schools are in New York, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, El Paso, all the big cities that are blue have all these charter schools. Here is the lie: the charter schools aren't to make public schools better. Charter schools are tax breaks for the wealthy. In other words, whether or not I got a tax break as a rich person, if I were a rich person, I don't depend on a tax or a subsidy to put my child in private school, right? A rich person doesn't depend
right,
on, but if you give them but they always are begging for more. They're parasites, right? So they're always begging for more. So what you're
right.
doing is you're simply buying their next Mercedes. You're simply buying their next whatever expensive car, because that is money they would have spent anyway. And instead of us putting that money back into the public system as you just specified, we actually screw the middle class and the poor and give it all to the rich. So everything that Trump has done scammed MAGA and the middle class. And I'm glad you see that. What part of town do you live? Where do you live?
Right now, I'm on the south side in
Okay,
Houston.
in Houston. Oh, you're in Houston. You can be a testimony to a whole lot of folks. Let me tell you, because most people don't understand this stuff, and they think for some reason that they're doing the right thing with their vote. They're just allowing folks to screw them, which is what they do. Anything else, brother?
Actually, yeah, one last little thing. I had seen a story the other day where they were mentioning that there's very little oversight on how the money that's collected on these beltways are spent. And
Hmm.
I don't know. It just seems like there's so much money that we put into different things like that, and that it's generated that it just evaporates, and everybody's still always broke. I don't know. It just seems like we could do better.
Well,
Anyway, that's
are
it.
you talking?
Thanks
Yeah,
for.
thank you, my brother. Let me
Right.
just offline. I'll tell you. Here it's a deal. In Texas, we started building a lot of freeways that were toll roads. And I don't know about now, I haven't researched it recently, but a lot of these toll roads were foreign companies investing call it payoffs, were the ones building the toll roads and collecting the tolls. And of course, these tolls, the idea behind them was supposed to pay back the loans or pay back the investors in building these highways and also keep up the highways. But it has always been a con because we know that the government could build these roads cheaper. Not only could they build the road cheaper, even if they wanted to make it toll roads, they could make it inexpensive toll roads for recovering the initial investment and then removing the tolls and making it accessible to everybody. But again, it's the con, and it's a con that we have to make people aware of. And too many people aren't aware of it. I wasn't prepared for the question from the brother on the Texas toll roads. I hadn't covered that subject in a while, so I have to look it up. But just rest assured, understand this: it's a con. It's a big, big, big con. So anyhow, we'll talk about that. Let me go ahead and play our second video, and let me set it up this way: Trump can lie as much as he wants. The title of this one is let's see: Trump can lie, but he cannot hide from the inflation he has created. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll talk a little bit about it thereafter. Let's see. Let's go ahead and get busy.
How do you think the tariffs on the imported pasta are going to change things for your customers here?
Well, obviously, it will come with an increase on pricing, especially for people like us that we don't like to compromise on the quality of the products.
Are you concerned at all for your business?
Of course. Of course, time for restaurants is very difficult these days with all the cost increases from energy to rent to labor. Especially here in New York, there is a lot of prediction for the future on the labor cost. And of course, ingredients will be the same. So the more they go up, the more we are forced to raise price. And people still willing to spend those money?
Pasta is feeling the tariff, reacting right there, a restaurant owner here in New York City, to the 107% tariff on imported Italian pasta. It could be in place as soon as January. Just about everything costs more today than it did 5 years ago. The price of groceries alone is up 30% since February 2020. So why does the president keep saying that the economy has never been better? The tariff issues are taking the toll.
Look, the economy is just really hard to read right now. It is absolutely true. The president inherited a strong economy, and so we had a lot of momentum. It's also clearly the case that momentum has slowed, and there's a very clear question about whether it is slowed down to a comfortable sort of a pace or whether it's slowed into something really uncomfortable and is on the cusp of a recession. There's lots of reasons to be fearful of a recession, including some of the uncertainty and tariff mayhem the president has unveiled. And of course, what we'd normally do at a moment like this is look to our reliable government data, which we've been completely in the dark because of the government shutdown. So the Federal Reserve Board is more divided than it's been in, I'd say, decades, actually. And that's because all of us are quite uncertain about what's happening out there.
Let me show you we're putting them up right now, but the numbers as they stand, the prices that have just gone up and up and up and up and up. I wonder if you add on that the stock market taking a bit of a dip, does that force the administration to pay attention? Does Donald Trump lose the one talking point he has, which is that the economy is doing great when he talks about the stock market? There's a K-shaped economy. If it becomes an L-shaped economy where everybody's at the bottom, Doug, or feeling it, does the White House move? Does it change?
I think it does change somewhat, but they have to be in charge of how they do that. And, that starts with the president, but that also means members of Congress, too, because essentially we have two economies. The numbers that we see, where the Dow is on a given day, obviously, at 48,000 points, it's as high as it's ever been, regardless of what it does in a given day. And then there's what people feel. And that's when they spend money at a grocery store, at a restaurant, or they go to the movies, or they don't spend money on things because they see the prices, and that sticker shock is real and causes them to say no.
Let me play some sound from people out there reacting to the cost of things.
So it really hit me today while getting groceries how expensive things are getting. I got 3 bags of groceries and it was $105.
This coffee last August was $12.98. $12.98. Cool, I'll pay that. It's like the value size. Love this coffee. It's what I get every single time. Okay. I just went and got this $19.77.
This is what I bought. Right here. Okay. This is it. This is it. This cost me $75.
I'm about to show you $10 worth of groceries in America. Bread and eggs, $4.79 and $4.70 something or another. $10 for bread and eggs. Good job.
Justin, Donald Trump keeps pointing to the energy market, saying energy prices are going down, and then the prices at large will go down eventually because everything uses energy to get around, and if the energy is cheaper, then the prices will be cheaper. Does he have a point?
Not really. The problem with this president is that he's lied to us about prices at every possible opportunity. I think it's in time for a real and mature conversation about what prices are and what they're meant to do. The reality is that most economies have some degree of inflation. That means prices tend to rise over time. Not all of them and not all at the same rate. The original sin in this debate was the president, before the election, pledging he would get prices down. That almost never happens. Prices just have a tendency to rise. He's refused to look the American people in the eye and say, I was kidding just then. He's continued to lie about it. He tells us prices are down, and each of us goes to the grocery store. We know exactly what's happening out there.
All of our country's problems.
Absolutely so. The prices are not going anywhere. But again, let's be very clear. This inflation, let's be clear. The inflation under Biden, and I know I know the media, the mainstream media, doesn't like to accept the reality. But the inflation under Biden was manufactured. Let me tell you something about inflation. You get inflation for two reasons. When you have shortages and people are fighting for the products that you want, that causes inflation. That's what causes price rises, okay? When you have too much money chasing after products when there aren't enough products out there. But we have never had a shortage of oil or products or anything even when we had the supply chain problems. There were distinct items within the supply chain that we couldn't get. Those you could understand inflation on those, but on most things there was no necessity for inflation. Katie Porter actually pointed out that over 50% of then the inflation under Biden was nothing more than corporate greed. And this isn't something you can't calculate mathematically. You can calculate this stuff mathematically. You can actually see how big your GDP grew. You can actually see how much things are cost. You can see the cost of things being imported, etc. And if the inflation rate is greater than what when you compute those values, it is corporate greed because you actually saw it in the earnings of the companies. You can calculate this stuff. And Katie Porter had professors who calculated this stuff. Most of the most of the inflation was caused by greed. And again, that should not have been surprising because we never had shortages. Never could you go to the grocery store and not find cheese. Never could you go to the grocery store and not find bacon or chicken. You had a problem with eggs, and that was mostly caused by bird flu, etc. So you could understand the price rise there. But it was all manufactured. They cornered the market. The inflation that's caused by Trump can also be calculated and see the reason why. And it is part tariff and part greed again. And the way I expressed it to Bobby, any thinking person would get it. That extra money that went into the coffers of the United States government wasn't paid by China or Brazil or Venezuela or Costa Rica or Jamaica or any country in Europe. It was paid by the person or the company who imported the product. So that was that price increase in inflation there. And then, of course, I gave Bobby the example that Walmart doesn't want you to know what their price point is. So if they don't want you to know that that T-shirt only had to go up by 50% because they only paid 50% for it while they sell it for $5. They don't want you to know that, so they're gonna raise the prices higher than the tariff because otherwise you will calculate their price point and say, I ain't paying that. I'm paying that for that. Now there are companies like Temu and all of that that got smart, and they said, "Look, Amazon and all these companies are ripping off the American people. Why not we rip them off just a little bit less?" And then their prices were able to be cheaper than Walmart or Amazon, and people bought directly from Temu, who then shipped it directly to you. Of course, you lost some of the scale because when Amazon imported, they import several containers. When you buy singly, your shipping cost is a higher percentage of that altogether. Folks, we have to educate ourselves on our economy. We have to educate ourselves on how things work so that we can, when these people tell us crap, that we can go back and say, no, that's not how it works. We can go back and say, this is how it worked. Yes, Don, they like to call it free market when we really don't have free markets. Lynette, you nailed it. We do not have free markets. I want free enterprise. That's why I want a solid social safety net. A solid social safety net guarantees that we can have free enterprise. How? Because if you don't have to be bribed into getting good health care, if you have basic income in case you fall on bad times, if you have childcare that allows you to get the work that you want, if you have a family leave that says I can take time off if somebody in the home gets sick, if you have family vacation that says, you know what, I can rest my body for some time, that's a solid social safety net. If you don't have to depend on the whims of an electrical generation company that wants to rip you off, those are good projects, good things to have. And when we understand why we should be fighting for those things, then we will get by. I'm going to end the show today on Epstein. Hate doing Epstein, but this one had to do. I had to do. Why is it that MAGA, no matter what, tries to justify what Donald Trump does or what anybody related to Donald Trump does in order to placate the feelings towards him? Megyn Kelly ought to be embarrassed. She has kids. I know some of you have seen this, but many have told me they haven't. Check this out. It's very short.
For Epstein, I've said this before, but just as a reminder, I do know somebody very, very close to this case who is in a position to know virtually everything. Not everything, but virtually everything. And this person has told me from the start, years and years ago, that Jeffrey Epstein, in this person's view, was not a pedophile. This is this person's view, who was there for a lot of this, but that he was into the barely legal type. Like he liked 15-year-old girls. And I realize this is disgusting. I'm definitely not trying to make an excuse for this. I'm just giving you facts. That he wasn't into like 8-year-olds, but he liked the very young teen types that could pass for even younger than they were, but would look legal to a passerby.
For the record, 15-year-old girls are not legal. They're ninth graders mostly, still kids, which is why Megyn Kelly is getting dragged right now for that comment, with teenagers and former child actors calling her out on social media, showing pictures of themselves as 15-year-olds to remind her and other folks what a 15-year-old looks like.
Well, Megyn Kelly must have thought that most of America was like Mississippi. Okay? She must have thought that most of America was like Mississippi. because where everybody gave her a hard time for 15-year-old, 15-year-old. What she really wanted to say was 16-year-old, because the age of sexual consent in Mississippi is 16 years old, but this can vary depending on the age gap between partners. Sexual activity is illegal if there is an age difference of 36 months or more between persons that are 14 and 15, which means, a 18-year-old could go out with a 15-year-old, but those are, for all practical purposes, they consider kids. But for real sexual consent, apparently in Mississippi, 16 it's the age. Additionally, it is always illegal for anyone 18 years or older to have sexual intercourse who is under 14 years old. So Mississippi, one of the, what kind of states we're talking about, that is their age of consent. Now there are countries, however, Argentina, Niger, Western Sahara, age of consent is, I think, 13. Let me look at, yeah. And so, we get it. We get it. But again, the fact of the matter is Megyn Kelly should be ashamed of herself, because we all know with the development of what these guys were doing, they were pretty much doing the big R on these women. Anyway, that is all that I have for today. So I'm just spending telephone calls now. Telephone number, of course, is 281 823 7747. Anybody wants to call? 281 823 7747. Llámame por favor. Anybody has any questions? Otherwise, I will shut her down about 4 minutes or so early. But I'll wait a bit to see if I get any calls. Thank you for putting that in, Le Deneuve. 281-823-7747. Paul Fleming says the Bailey Beast on Thursday, Senator Sheldon Whitehouse launched an investigation into activities under Grinnell's reign at the Kennedy Center, claiming that the nation's premier art center is being used as a slush fund and private club for Trump's friends and political islands. It doesn't surprise me. LBW, la profesora está con nosotros. Thank you for being here, LBW. LBW says she is in cancer treatment, but her labs are looking better. Hello, Denson. Who are we speaking about? Anyway,
Well,
I'll look into that.
I had called in yesterday, but you were talking with Patrick, and so you wanted to speak on with him, so I just didn't bother to call back because we ran out of time. You had to go, but you were asking yesterday, does anybody understand about what you were explaining about the healthcare and how this works?
Yes,
and
sir.
Humberto, you explain it very, very well. Look, these oligarchs, these plutocrats, they are interested in profit for the insurance companies, and they don't care what regular American they rip off. As I told you on other occasions, my brother Alan Dixon always says, if you can't afford to pay, you can't afford to stay. And so that's what that amounts to. So you're explaining it very well, and I hope there are other viewers that are listening to you that are understanding what you're saying and getting it, because they are being ripped off. MAGA's being ripped off. Other non-MAGA people are being ripped off by these corporate, greedy, wealthy folks, so that they can continue to turn a profit, and so that their shareholders and their stock prices go up. As Patrick Magner mentioned yesterday on the subject he was talking about, with all they care about is their stock prices and making money, and they don't care who they have to exploit in order to enrich their portfolios. So you explain this stuff all the time very, very well.
Well,
Go ahead.
I appreciate that, Harry. And the thing, and I want this message to go to anybody. I try my best, right? But sometimes you just don't hit the right numbers or the right formula to get to people. So I want folks to understand that we are in this where we want people to understand. And if I say something that is dubious
Right.
or that you don't quite get, I want people to call me out and say, hey, you need to do a better job in explaining that. Or if I don't have it sufficiently well researched to get it done. Because let me tell you something, Harry, an
Yeah.
informed person creates a voter. Okay, a lot of people that
Yeah.
don't vote, they don't vote because they're not as informed as they should, and they don't know the value that they themselves have. And that's what I'm hoping with our program here. And the good thing about this is, I put up some relays now. People can actually carry this program and my morning show. I'll be starting this after Thanksgiving, where they can actually relay
Right.
the program live on other radio stations that want to pick it up as we're doing it live. So eventually, I've subscribed to some relays that allows us to do that on both stations. So I mean, my goal again, and by the way, for all of you that are listening, all the radio stations that are carrying Politics Done Right, they're carrying it free of charge. It's not like how PBS charges all these other stations to carry their program. I want folks to know this stuff. So anybody who wants to pick it up, any radio station who wants to pick this stuff up, I just want them to have it. So I'm creating some relays
Right.
that will allow people to log directly in and carry the programs live if they want to, or carry the programs
Yeah.
otherwise. But at the same time, Harry, I got to go. It's at 59. I
Oh,
appreciate your
can I
call.
can I mention one? Can I mention
Absolutely.
one
Go.
more thing? I wanted to
Yes,
mention one
sir.
more thing really quick.
Yes,
Now,
yes,
Eric
sir.
Hayes, in the chat, because I wrote something in the chat. You can read it later about how Zohan Mandami is a democratic socialist, and he believes in helping Americans and non-Americans who are non-rich, even though he's doing well himself. Now, Eric Hayes tried to pull my chain and in the chat, and I responded to him. Well, Zohan Mandami's rich. Isn't that rich? Yes, he is, but he believes in helping people that aren't rich. So what is wrong with that? And there's nothing that convict Trump can say to try to persuade him and change him, because I know what Trump is trying to do. Get him to come over to his way of thinking and only help the oligarchs and plutocrats and screw regular Americans. Zohan Mandami is a strong-minded person and will never do that.
Harry. You know something? I think
Go
you
ahead.
have a little. I think you have a little machine in you. And when you get into your particular mode, it is like an autopilot. I love it. I try to say, okay,
yeah.
Harry, I got you, Harry. Okay, you got to stop
I
that
push,
for me, Harry.
I
Anyway,
push back on these people that are wrong about these things,
Harry,
as
I
you
gotta
do
go.
too.
Yes, sir.
All right, take care. Have a good weekend.
Love
I'll
you,
tell
brother.
your wife and your daughter I said hello.
I actually will tell them, thank you, my brother. You have a good one. I love
All
you
right.
some, Harry.
Bye-bye.
Harry is with us in the morning. Harry is with us in the afternoon. Let me tell you. Anyway, folks, here's the deal. We need your support. I need your support. We need you to become, those of you who have the wherewithal to do so, paid subscribers of our newsletter, Egberto Off the Record. That subsidizes everything that I do, including all the relays that I'm now setting up for stations that want to carry it live, for websites that want to carry it live. I've set it up, and I've already started doing that. So how can you support? You can support us by going directly to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Again, that is politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, and just become a paid subscriber. It is inexpensive. You won't feel it. You will feel that you're helping us move the message forward. You're helping us grow the base, and you will help us make us a better country. And I want to call out to our sister LBW, La Profesora. She says the cancer treatments or labs are looking better. I am so happy for your mom, LBW. I think that I saw you in John's Substack live, speaking a little bit about what you were going through. And let me just say this: uh, you are going to be blessed because so many of us don't do the things that you are doing both with family and public. I just think you need to hear that. I also want to let you know that, sis, because teachers, you're doing something for the public and you're doing something big for the family. You're a wonderful person. You're a wonderful person. Anyway, folks, I got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.